More criticism of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and his handling of the COVID crisis this weekend. The latest, it's from a new report from the Times that Cuomo has burned through at least 9 top-level health officials during the crisis, often removing them from the decision-making process, and also the local public health officials and even hospitals didn't know about policies Cuomo was implementing before he announced them at press briefings, and they weren't consulted in the decision-making process. It all follows the bombshell report about deadly errors in the state's handling of COVID-positive nursing home patients, a report that came from fellow Democrat and Cuomo ally, State Attorney General Leticia James. The report says the number of nursing home resident deaths was underreported by a huge margin. Cuomo also noting that the new information didn't change the overall numbers of fatalities in New York, just in how and where the deaths of nursing home residents were reported.
The Department of Health only counted the number of deaths in hospitals and the number of deaths in nursing homes. Released that number stays the same.
The report also shed light on another problem. COVID-positive nursing home residents who were treated in hospitals then returned to their homes while they were still testing positive for COVID. More than 3,600 residents fit that category, impacting 310 different homes, while families with people in those homes were likely not notified. The report also says new COVID rules from lawmakers led to confusion among nursing home operators, and that some state nursing homes did not take the proper precautions for dealing with COVID-positive residents. And while there are legitimate questions about how much oversight the state did or didn't do compared to nursing homes in other states, Cuomo also claims that he is being singled out and that criticism of him is based more in politics than in reality.
Where this starts is, frankly, a political attack from prior federal administration. If you think there was a mistake, then go talk to the federal government. It's not about pointing fingers or blame. It's that this became a political football.
For more, let's bring in Jesse McKinley, Jesse, the Albany bureau chief for the New York Times. Jesse, to say that this is a distinction without a difference in the accounting of where people died and where they contracted the virus, that's not fair, is it?
Well, I think the point is that it's been a bad week for Governor Cuomo's just kind of messaging on this. You know, to a large extent, Cuomo had gotten pretty good reviews going into the pandemic last spring, obviously through the summer when the rates seemed to go down. But in the last 6 months, as the rates have gone back up, you're seeing a little bit of a losing of the narrative from Cuomo. Now his point, as you point out, is, you know, it doesn't change the actual death tally in the state. But keep in mind that the fact that it took so many months for the Department of Health to reveal this information about where actually people pass away, whether it be at a nursing home or at the hospital, kind of goes to this issue of transparency. And that, just to continue on this rant, is central to Cuomo's own narrative, which is that he's the guy who delivers the facts, right? That there's no spin, that it's all about the science. So with the report on Friday from the Attorney General and then the report that we published this morning, you've seen 2 separate instances where facts and data didn't seem to really be the primary focus.
I think even some of those closest the governor would say, even affectionately, that he's a control freak. The part that I don't get, Jesse, is in late spring, not just this governor, but many governors were caught flat-footed with the issues with the nursing homes. But why the governor, when he knew about this blind spot going back April, May, wherever you want to put the calendar on it, would allow the nursing homes not to go unsupervised, but not to put his thumb on them, since he knew that was the source of his biggest vulnerability in the handling of this, to then have this report come out from a different entity of state government where he's not controlling it. It doesn't fit the MO that we've seen from him, where he's big-footed so many different agencies and mandated that he's the sole messenger when it comes to what's going on in New York with COVID.
Well, I think you're right. I think this was a big surprise. I think a lot of people, you know, in Democratic circles and certainly in Republican circles, were surprised by the fact that Tish James, who is a Democrat, and keep in mind, ran in 2018 with the support of Governor Cuomo. You know, she was endorsed by Cuomo. They campaigned together. There were flyers that went out saying that they should vote a straight line Democratic ticket for the both of them. And then for this to come and offer a pretty strident critique of his handling of nursing homes was a surprise, I think, to Democrats and Republicans alike. And then in terms of, taking care of the nursing home issue, his argument has always been, look, we were following federal guidance. We were taken by surprise by the intensity of the pandemic, that at that moment, this kind of critical March 25th moment when they decide to kind of order the nursing homes to take back positive patients if they can facilitate it, that they were panicked that they weren't going to have enough hospital beds, that they were looking at this surge. All of those are decent messages, I think, politically speaking, but they got out a little bit haphazardly. He wasn't consistent about saying what the reasoning for this was. The fact that data didn't come out promptly, that it had to be kind of forced out by this Attorney General's report, that doesn't help his messaging either. It doesn't help with his kind of, I'm just the facts kind of guy.
Did he know that the AG was going to issue the report? This might be a little bit inside baseball, but I would be surprised if they didn't know this was coming out, and I'd be further surprised if that was the fact why they didn't get ahead of it instead of all this learning. And then we watched the press conference, and again, at the risk of being inside baseball, I noticed you nor any of the print reporters really got to ask any of the questions in that briefing. And he wasn't as grilled as I thought warranted given the revelations. Talk about the chronology here of this. Took a while to put a 70-something page report together. You would think the governor would have been involved. And why didn't, if he knew it was getting involved, him get in front of this?
Well, I think you're right, but it is indicative of how much it took them off guard that their initial reaction was silence. There was nothing out of the office for 4, 5, 6 hours. And then finally, the state health commissioner, Howard Zucker, put out a statement that actually gave up the data that everyone had been looking for. How many nursing home residents had gone to the hospital and died in the hospital, which was the crux of the matter, was the thing that people were most upset that the administration wasn't offering, and they offered it 6 hours later, and that number was a big number. It was 3,800 people, more than that. It's still the same number of people that died, but rather than there being, somewhere in the ballpark of 8,500 people dying in nursing homes, now you're up to nearly 13,000. And that in turn, that sort of blame is going to end up at the governor's feet.
How much of this problem has been exasperated by, certain MOs that the governor has that people during his largely solid handling of this pandemic look the other way on? For example, the schoolyard fights that he has with Mayor de Blasio, which tie always seems to go to Cuomo. But also, I can just tell you from people involved in hospitals, the amount of times that they're caught off guard with announcements that really ought to be coordinated with them before the public asks them questions of. The governor can't own it when a mistake is made, it seems, and he's always looking to others here, whether it's politics or whatever else who claim is to blame, when it's legitimate criticism. It surprises me that he doesn't just say, yeah, you're right, I messed this one up, and going forward, this is what we'll do. It seems he's either unwilling or incapable of owning when a mistake is made.
Well, to pivot to the story we published this morning, Monday morning, on the front page, one of the things, as you mentioned, that was surprising but verified by a number of sources was that people inside of the State Department of Health, high-ranking people, would find out about policies that were going to set, for the entire state. They'd find out about those policies by watching the daily briefings, and that then the State Department of Health would kind of have to scramble to make that policy into reality. And to go to your other point, the issue of taking responsibility, the governor had said early in this crisis, he said repeatedly, blame me for the shutdowns, blame me for the loss of jobs. He never really said blame me for the loss of life, but he certainly implied that the buck stopped with him at the table. But I think you make a good observation that in the same breath, he will often say, blame me, but then often there are other forces at work that he blames. He has made a lot of hay about blaming the Trump administration throughout the entirety of last year. And it will be interesting to see, now that the Trump administration is no more, whether he continues to try to blame the federal government for a lot of problems that happen in the state of New York.
Yeah, he certainly, if you look at the poll numbers, had a lot of good weeks in 2020 in terms of handling a near impossible situation. But last week certainly wasn't one of them. Jesse, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you.
Anytime, Richard.
All right, folks, when we come back, it may be the single biggest change as America goes from Trump to Biden. I'm talking about foreign policy. Biden already charting a far different path when it comes to Russia and Putin. But what about China, Iran, other hotspots? We're going to review the problems and how Biden plans to address them with our guests next.